Welcome everybody who's in the lobby there. Thank you for joining our session. This is our 11 o'clock session of Pinpoint, where we're going to talk about how Mountain West Farm Bureau streamlines the quote to bind process using location intelligence and other insurance technology. So how insurance businesses build efficiencies with geospatial data. Um, we're going to take this off. Let's kick this off with Tim and Kurt. I think, Tim, a great place to start here is if you tell us a little bit about what you guys do and about your company in general.
Sure, be happy to. Again, thanks for having us on today, Ryan and Trevor. Mountain West has been an insurance company for 75 years, serving initially the farm and ranch communities of Wyoming and Montana that expanded to Colorado under the trade name of 360 Insurance over the last some years. But 75 years of providing property and casualty insurance for the farm and ranch communities of Wyoming and Montana was the primary mission. And we continue to offer a suite of products, both personal lines and commercial lines products, of financial services products, including life insurance from one of our sister companies, round out the portfolio of Mountain West. Recently, Mountain West has been on a technology modernization journey where we have, essentially we've transformed a company that it could have operated several decades ago and brought them to current with
Yeah.
cloud operations and cloud-based insurance systems. One of the key cornerstones of that was the Guidewire Insurance Suite for cloud. We've implemented that over the last 1,000 days.
Well, and that's a big change, it sounds like, for you guys.
Absolutely, and that informed the way we administer policies, the way we send bills, the way we handle claims, the documents that we send, how they're created, and more importantly, it's revolutionized the kind of customer experience and customer service that we can offer to our clients.
Well, what kind of sparked that change? What and in the history of the industry and things, what was kind of the reason for it?
Well, there are several key reasons. I think the headwinds facing all companies around cyber capabilities, the ability to protect the data that we are entrusted with. But the company had been operating for many years on what was essentially a mainframe system. The technology goes back to the 70s and
Yeah.
90s, and it was not able to keep pace with what I would describe as a modern experience for our customers and in internal operations staff on the way we handle operations, the way we handle claims, how we handle actuarial services and collect data. And that's probably the main idea here is that it's not just about creating a new system of record, which we
Yeah.
did, but it's about creating a new system of insight that doesn't rely on reports that are generated and delivered every 30 days, but a real-time information system that can deliver real up-to-date, every 4 minute refresh rate information to the fingertips of our internal operators. And then we can extend that to the customer experience so that they can see their documents, they can get electronic delivery if they wish to.
It feels like it's really innovative for the customer experience system and bringing it around. You guys have obviously done a really great job with that. It's probably one of the main ways the insurance industry has changed over the past few years is the need to become, more digitally based and more cloud based and things like that. Um, what are some of the challenges? You're obviously up there and through that hurdle already, but if we've got insurance businesses listening today, like what are some of the challenges that what wisdom could you give them, I guess, to overcome those challenges?
Well, we certainly live in an experience economy and we're judged
Yeah.
by the kind of experience that we can offer to people. But there's also a lot of things that are coming at us in terms of
Yeah.
business isn't slowing down. Our need to react quickly to changing business scenarios, tariffs, commodity prices, those kinds of things impact our organization, our business, and we need to be able to react quickly to them. New technologies, artificial intelligence is something that we obviously need to pay attention to, how we need to adopt. And it's going to be far easier to adopt those new technologies and new experiences from a modern core.
Modern core. Very true. What have you seen as far as technologies with AI? Like, I know that's been kind of a buzzword, but it's here to stay. What have you seen in that way?
Well, our approach to artificial intelligence is really around the idea of adopting quickly technologies that other people invent. We're a small mid-market organization. We're probably not going to invent our own language models, but we are going to adopt technology that's available from Microsoft, available from Guidewire, available from our ECM provider. These vendors are making investments, capital investments in artificial intelligence that we would never be able to make on our own. So our strategy is with a modern core, we can quickly adopt these technologies as they mature. Going back to one of your earlier questions, Ryan, about challenges,
Yeah,
implementing core systems is a challenge. The change management in an organization is a challenge where we're asking people to do things differently. How you did things before in the legacy system will likely change. The documents that we produce, the procedures that we follow, the rules that we engage with, they're all going to change. And so it's a significant change management effort in the organization. But probably the most relevant thing that's a challenge to this conversation is integrations. We have a core system, but that core system doesn't do everything that we need to do as an organization. And one of those things was address validation. That's what we're going to talk about today. Other things are like ECM, provider, document generation, document printing. These all become things that we have to integrate to. In addition to services that we consume for printing or address validation, we're also integrating with data providers in a new way, bringing in third-party data into the pre-underwriting screening process allows us to improve our straight-through processing capabilities as an organization, allows us to, in the past 2 years, we've written 50% more policies with 30% less operating staff. And those kinds of efficiencies then allow us to operate the organization more efficiently, which should translate into a better price for our clients because the costs of running the organization have declined.
that makes sense. Being able to be innovative and adopt that tech stack has really improved the way you guys do business.
I'll bring in Kurt here for a second. You've seen quite a few changes in your 30 years of experience in the insurance industry. What stands out to you?
I think for me, the biggest thing, Tim, is exactly what you talked about is the way we do business has to change. In the past, insurance companies have been slow to change. You get a paper bill in the mail, you send your check in, and for the most part, that's the communication you have with the insurance company until you have a claim. And
Yeah,
then that experience begins to change. But now you're focused with the tools that are available to companies, you can change from the time that data is inputted, processed through the system, and delivered to the insured the way they want it insured. That whole process has changed in how we communicate to our customer. So instead of being
that's
something in the mail, we're now communicating to each other.
so you're communicating better. It sounds like you've really connected more with your customers over the past 30 years.
Very
So
much
Ryan,
so.
I think I'll just enhance what Kurt's trying to get
Yeah,
there, and that is we've sped everything up.
it's
We
all
have
sped up.
sped up our ability to react, but we've also sped up our ability to interact with a customer. On our very, very best day, following paper processes, we could get you a policy in 14 to 15 days on our very, very best day.
Yeah,
Now we can deliver a policy to a new insured the same day. We
same
can
day.
collect the premium, get a signature, handle everything electronically, so you can now enjoy same day experience instead of having to wait. And I don't think anybody likes to wait anymore.
Yeah,
Our ability to react was already discussed, but our ability to process a change request, to react to, hey, I'm going to the car dealership and I'm thinking about buying a new car. What's that going to cost me? We can do those
yeah.
kinds of queries in real time, where before a real time conversation like that was difficult.
So real time has really become proactive, it sounds like, for you guys.
Yeah, real
Yes.
time. Let's answer your question right now. Let's avoid the Well, I'll take down the information and I'll get back to you. That's not a delightful experience, and
Yeah.
we don't want that to be a part of our journey going forward.
I want to highlight too, just to provide the audience a little more context. Tim mentioned it's been a 1,000-day journey to digitize the business. Um, and for context, I work with insurance companies, specifically PNC within Smarty, and within our outreach and things like that. And Mountain West Farm Bureau has adopted not just our technology, but I've been able to see them adopt the whole Guidewire suite and the whole digitization process faster than anyone that I've worked with. So they've won multiple awards specifically with Guidewire for being the earliest adopters, being up to date on all of the accelerators and the new softwares that they're releasing. So if there are any insurance companies or attendees in the industry that are looking for just examples or positive experiences in this process, this is the perfect client to point to. So I just want to commend these our guests for their efficiency there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Trevor.
I'd say on that same note, like because you've done it so quickly and so fast, like how do you decide like what to invest in this technology versus this one or this plugin versus that plugin? What does that look like?
Well, it's a pretty simple formula, Ryan. Really, it's first off, we try to maximize all of the capabilities that exist in the core of the software that we've picked to be our core system. But then it's which vendors are the easiest to integrate. The long tail in every system implementation like this is always integration, data, and change management or training, because integrations become these mini projects in and of themselves that all have to kind of come together at the same time. So if we can pick vendors that already have relationships with, in our case, Guidewire, the integration, the opportunity to turn in the service, that service gets easier.
So it would be benefit insurtechs as well to be seeking out these opportunities, these marketplaces, it sounds like.
Well, it's not exactly your question, but I'll brag
Yeah.
on your organization for just a second. We did not have the ability to use Smarty in 21 when we started the project because we needed a different level of precision than you offered at that time. You've since fixed that, and that's the rooftop lat long.
The rooftop.
We turned on the Smarty integration to Guidewire with less effort than it took to take out the prior integration.
Okay.
The integration we had before was actually fairly complex and took a while to code because you have a partnership with Guidewire and you have an integration that's hosted in Marketplace and you've gone through the certification process. Turning on that integration was one of the more simple integrations that we actually have done with Guidewire.
Well, thank you. That's always wonderful to hear. Glad to hear we could make it a much more pleasant experience.
Well, just to kind of, we don't make vendor decisions lightly. If the first
Yeah.
thing we look at is first we have to look at business benefit. We have to look at the ability to integrate with our core systems, and then what's it going to take to maintain on an
Yeah.
ongoing basis? There's probably, three major things. Do they have an integration to Guidewire? Is there a good business fit? Do the business metrics make sense? Do the costs make sense? And then what's it going to cost to
Yeah.
maintain that going forward? We have adopted a program where we take every Guidewire update as they come. That's three a year. And we don't want to be in a situation where we can't take an update because an integration we've chosen isn't following that same kind of upgrade path. So those four things
Those four
are
things.
really the decision factors that we use to make decisions with, Ryan.
Very awesome. No, thank you for sharing that. And I mean, with all those plugins, I'm sure there's a lot of, data that you're getting back. A lot of data management that needs to happen. Not all data is kind of created equal. So, like, what does getting good data with plugins look like for you guys?
Well, I'll let Kurt weigh in on this in just a second, but some of your speakers prior to me have talked about the importance of precision.
Yeah.
And clearly that is something that is that's maybe the most important thing that we have to do. We really have three major questions that we have to validate. Are you who you say you are? Do you own what you say you own? And is it where you said it is?
Yeah.
And have, the location of your vehicle, the location of your house is extremely important. And in Wyoming or Montana, you can have large properties where identifying a building as next to the mailbox may be miles away from where the building actually is. So getting to the precision of the rooftop is important to our rating algorithm so that we can take into account exactly where that location is. And the same thing with mail and address validation. We need to be able to send you a document precisely to where it needs to go. We know that the Postal Service continually makes changes, and we have policyholders that have been with us for decades. And not revalidating that address can lead to a disruption in service or the experience that we're trying to provide by sending you your documents to the price location. Kurt, your thoughts?
No, I think that's true, Tim, is, data accuracy is imperative to what we do. That location is used in rating. Obviously, where you build, there's different risk, maybe fire, maybe flood, maybe whatever.
Yeah.
So the precise action of precise location of that building is critical for our rating. I'll give you a quick example of before the previous tool that we use for address validation. I had an agent who keyed an address in Western Wyoming,
Okay.
but the address provided is in Eastern Wyoming. That's a 5-hour drive from each other. So
Yeah.
if you think about the importance of your data, if I'm trying to rate that based on the risk on that location, I don't have a shot in the dark, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm 5 hours away from where I should be. So the importance of that data is critical to make sure that we're rating fairly, correctly, and people are getting what they deserve.
Oh, that makes sense. Like a 5-hour drive, that's wild as far as like difference goes. Like that's a
Yeah.
long time,
So
especially
Ryan,
on
we have
a
this conversation kind of routinely with
yeah,
the reinsurance auditors, or when we talk about fire risk.
fire risk.
If you burn 100,000 acres in California, and you're going to burn some things down. In Wyoming, we had a 200,000 acre wildfire a few years ago. It burnt two loafing sheds and an outhouse.
Yeah.
Our risk is just a little bit different, and having precise location where we can drop a pin and say this is exactly where that rooftop is
Rooftop
allows
is.
us to have really accurate conversations with the reinsurance market.
Makes sense. What other challenges do you face? I mean, you're talking a lot of rural area here. That's a big difference between that and a city like say LA or something like that.
Well, one of the things we struggle with at the moment is address mail delivery. Um,
Yeah.
the Postal Service is continuing to increase the standard delivery time in the markets we serve right now. In
Yeah.
Wyoming, first class letter is the service level is 7 days.
7 days.
Minimum,
Okay.
right? And,
Yeah.
and so, moving to a digital delivery capability has been an important part of that process. But if we do have to, send a physical document, we sure don't want to get it wrong, have
Yeah.
that mail returned, and then have to go through another process. It could take many, many weeks to get a document to the right location if we don't send it to the right one in the first place.
And that can be expensive, bad customer experience, everything all kind of rolled into one there.
Well, we took a look recently at some of the mail expense, and we were looking at why we were having overnight fees. And as we studied the challenge and where the overnight fees were coming from, what we found was exactly the scenario that I described, where an address wasn't going to be delivered the way we thought. It wasn't validated at the point just prior to sending that document. It was returned, and in order
Yeah.
to accommodate the insured with a better experience, the check or the letter was overnighted.
Yeah.
And by getting it right in the first place, we could attack overnight fees.
So that's another place where you're starting to save money and improve experience. Again, that's awesome.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
Tim, you mentioned the other day there was just your fees for sending out checks based on policies not going to the right place, and that the amount of money that you were spending on sending those to the correct addresses after the fact was more than probably what you're spending with Smarty as a whole, right? So I don't know if
Yeah.
you were hitting on that specifically right then, but uh, could you share just a little bit more detail there?
Well, that's exactly right, Trevor. What we were talking about is these overnight fees. If we can attack that fee and drop it by 50%, we will have more than paid for our entire campaign to put in Smarty.
Cool. Yeah, I remember that conversation. I was surprised just by the level of improvement that you saw there. I'm curious too. I know we were talking a lot about more of the back end side of things where Mountain West is getting more accurate address data, geocoding data for rating and underwriting. When it comes to the user experience, I know there's also an autocomplete API, which is our address prefill solution um, that you have with us. Where was that implemented in your system, and what's been kind of the feedback there?
Kurt, you want to take that one?
Yeah. So, when we first started this, Tim's talked about the multiple areas that we were focused on. First is data integrity, having the correct data so you can rate, you can process your business correctly. That's critical. But equally important to that is a customer experience. Again, if we're trying to build that communication between us and the customer, for us, customers might be an agent, might be an insured, might be home office, whoever that is. So as we worked with you guys, we weren't aware of this when we first started engaging you, that auto prefill came up. I can tell you from an end user's point of view, my customers, they're not overly focused on data integrity, right? That's not their job. That's my job.
Yeah.
And so I don't hear any comments about the data integrity being much better, much more accurate. I do hear very often that auto prefill is fantastic because now I'm key. There's a couple of things that happens here, right? One is I begin keying the address and it's pre-populated and filled out and gives me a list to choose from. Is this one of the addresses you're looking for? And I click on it. You just saved the customer time of keying all of that information in, but you achieve my goal of data integrity because now there's less miskeying. Um, I get comments, if not weekly, at least every other week from different users still talking about that auto prefill feature and how that's changed their work environment.
So not only have you seen it, I mean, it's been a benefit for the customer, right? It makes it easier to. Who doesn't love an address prefill? I hate it when
Right.
I try to order something and I have to put my full address in, whether it's Smarty or another vendor, right? But
Very much
it
so.
sounds like so not only from a customer experience standpoint, that's been better for you guys, but just from a data ingestion standpoint, you probably have higher match rates with our verification API if they're first hitting that prefill. Is that accurate?
That's very true. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, we get better zip code information because it's pre-filled and populated by your service. We're judged not by the other insurance company down the road. We're judged by the customer's last best digital experience. And to your point, Trevor, if the last best digital experience I had, I could start typing my address and it said, "Is this you?" And I can click on it and it does the rest. That's a delightful experience. And if we can do that too, then we look like a more sophisticated business partner. And we like that.
Yeah, that's a wonderful thing to see, and being able to provide that better experience. Changing gears here a little bit too. In the insurance world in general, fraud detection and prevention is kind of a buzz topic right now. What have you guys seen there? What works, what doesn't? You guys obviously have a ton of experience. What are you guys doing on that?
A lot of our work here comes from the collection of third-party information provided by other services. We've all tripped over it. Have you lived at this address? It's a security validation check, and we can do the same kinds of things with speeding tickets, accidents, to the point where we're wondering if we even need to ask those questions anymore, on an insurance application
Yeah.
when we're going to check anyway. So tell us who you are, and what you own, and we're going to validate it. And we do some kind of weird things in insurance that go back years. And we ask a lot of kind of dumb questions like, what's the shape of your roof?
Yeah.
Most people, well, I don't know, kind of looks like this.
Yeah. It's a
And what do you
triangle.
mean? What's the composite of your roof? Now, most people probably don't know the answers to those questions, but we do. We should know. And if
Yeah.
we know the precise location of that house and we know that it's been sold in the last 15 years, there's an NPLS listing of that house that has already described the shape of the roof composite, the age of the roof, distance to the nearest school, and some of those kinds of things. So if we
Yeah.
can stop asking all of the underwriting questions that have been a part of the insurance experience, I think we can get to a more delightful self-service experience for our customers. And so that's probably the big thing that we're doing with fraud, Ryan, is just
Yeah.
making sure that we're effectively utilizing the third-party data sources that are available to insurance companies.
Yeah. That's a
You,
big thing. Like oh, go ahead, Kurt. Go ahead.
Ryan, one thing to go along with what Tim's just
Yeah.
saying is one of the criteria we have, as Tim talks about, we call it redlining the vendor, right? Can we
Yeah.
get everything that vendor provides? And as far as the fraud, my actuary just came to me this week, and he was at a conference a little while ago with Trevor's team, and he
Yeah.
came back and he called me up and he said, "Hey, Smarty also provides additional data points that can help us get better data. I want to tap into those additional data points." So you can see that once that door's open,
Yeah.
right, and you choose to partner wise and you get a good partner, now the tools that they're offering helps me be stronger in the areas that I'm trying to work in. I don't have to go find all that stuff. I have to
Yeah.
tap to you and say, okay, I want these additional data points. And that feeds into our actuaries and other groups.
And we're really able to lift each other by helping with that data as well.
Right.
I love the idea of like, I mean, because I got a home last year and switching insurance as well, actually, is something we did. And man, those questions, like, I'm like, I don't know, like, like I got to go dig and hunt for this. Like, that's kind of a painful spot for me as a consumer. And so I like the idea of not asking, dumb questions, so to speak. Like I can't give you an answer. I can do my best, and that could potentially put you guys in a bad spot if I do my best and it's maybe a wrong answer, I'd imagine.
Right.
Yeah, we want to get the most accurate information
Yeah.
possible, and we don't want to annoy our customers. So the
Yeah.
better job we can do of collecting that information in advance, um, the better we can improve your experience in the buying process,
Yeah.
the renewal process, etc.
Um, we talked a little bit about it, but I'm wondering a little if you could share a little bit more about like what was the trigger to looking into like Smarty solution again after so many years.
Well, I can take that one. Um, First off, we had Smarty as a vendor back in the day.
Yeah.
Um, but the inability to do rooftop validation kind of flunked out Smarty as a potential integration point
Yeah.
for uh, for Guidewire. But you've made some massive changes. You do rooftop validation, and you built an integration to Guidewire. So as we were doing an integration review, we recognized our contract was coming up for renewal. Your price point was more attractive, the services were better, and the integration was easier to implement and maintain. As I previously mentioned, our integration work with Smarty, it took more effort to take out the old integration than it did to put
Yeah.
yours in. And we were able to do additional things, as Kurt mentioned, the pre-fill. It just seemed like a pretty big, well, I'm going to use the word no-brainer
No brainer.
to make a switch to Smarty.
Very
Kurt,
cool.
your thoughts?
No, it's a no-brainer, Tim. You're right. And it's interesting because, again, our focus was data integrity. When we started this, we went back to our business partners and said, hey, we're swapping out the address verification tool. Well, everybody panicked, right? Because
Yeah.
it's something they don't have to pay much attention to. And again, they're not focused on data integrity in those other areas.
Right.
I recently asked them after we talked, I asked them, hey, if we had the chance, would you guys go back? And absolutely not. We are not going back. We are not changing that out. So you can see the impact of bringing that onto the system.
It
Because
sounds like
data integrity was such an important part of our process, Ryan, uh, it was great to work with Smarty in the validation process. I don't know, Kurt, we sent them 50,000 addresses on more than one occasion, trying to find a reason not to make the switch because of address accuracy. And we didn't find those errors. We, in fact, found a little better precision. So we tried really hard not to hire you as a vendor through that
yeah,
validation process, but everything worked. The validation process proved that we were not going to go backwards in accuracy. We're going to go forwards. We were able to provide a better service at a lower price point. Again, I'll come back to the comment. It was a no-brainer.
no
Right.
brainer. Well, that's very cool to hear. Like I love though that you put us through the rigor. Like we like to hear that honestly, because then we know that you have something you can trust and something that's going to work for you.
Seconding what Tim just said is, there was some concern from our leadership as far as changing this out. So
Yeah,
that's why I think I sent three different, I'd run off 50,000 addresses. So 150,000 addresses I would send over
yeah,
and say, run these through your system and bring back to me the coordinates of these. And I would compare those to our current provider and
yeah,
present that. And then it's okay, but we have this list of 100 trouble addresses that we can never get. Send us those. So I
yeah.
sent those to you, and those came back as a hit. So, nothing's ever 100%, but the
Right.
percentage increased substantially as far as accuracy.
Well, that's cool that the percentage will increase
And,
substantially.
and Ryan, just for your team was
Yeah.
fantastic. Thank them.
Okay.
I hit them pretty hard with a lot of data to try to
Yeah.
prove that you wouldn't pass the bar. And every time they're, how do I help you?
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, was there anybody you worked with in particular that was really stellar to?
Jake was my main point. He kind of had other people helping him, but
Okay.
Jacob
Very cool.
Munson, Lyle was really involved there too.
yeah.
Kurt. So we'll forward on those compliments. Thank you.
Yeah. Um, Kind of looking forward, what excites you the most about the future of insurance, in general, or even as your company is the direction you're going?
Well, insurance is this necessary product.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people are excited about paying that insurance bill right up until the moment where they need it. And then they're glad that they had it. And we have an opportunity in front of us to be more efficient and more effective and more delightful as an industry. And we're accepting that challenge at Mountain West to try to find a way to make insurance something not that you look forward to necessarily paying, for example, but
Yeah.
making the statement that we're going to be efficient, effective as an organization. We're going to spend the premium dollars wisely so that you're getting the very best from us so that we can
Yeah.
offer the very best to you. And then hopefully our clients recognize that we're making investments to help them self-serve, to do the work that meets them where they are. We're going to communicate with them the way they want to be communicated with. That could be a text, it could be email, it could be a piece of paper, but we're going to honor what they want. How
Yeah.
do you want us to communicate with you? And then we're going to try to take the friction out of the process. As you described the frustration of a homeowner's application, if there are things that we can take out of that process and just make it more delightful to ask for and receive insurance coverage, that's our mission right now as technologists in an insurance company.
Yeah.
We want to take a necessary product, make it more efficient for the organization, and hopefully in some way make it more delightful for our customers. And then if you need to use what we've provided as a service, you have a claim. We want to be efficient and effective at handling that claim. We want to settle it fairly and get you back on with your life.
Yeah. Sounds like it's really stewardship for you to take care of these people.
That's exactly right. And there are some interesting technologies that are becoming available. And I think one of the electric bike companies has said it best in their marketing campaign. They've said, It's you, just better. And
You
when we
just
think
better.
about how artificial intelligence should be impacting us right now, it's that
Yeah.
phrase. It's still you. We're still underwriting, we're still adjusting claims, we're still sending bills, we're still honoring a promise, we're still
Yeah.
pricing our product, but we're going to do it in a more efficient, effective way. And hopefully our customers start to see that in the experiences that they consume from us.
Very cool. Um, Very cool that you're doing that. It can be a negative thing, but you guys are making it positive to deal with insurance and to build that out. And that's a unique thing, I think, for you guys, that coming from um, the insurance world and what I've seen as well. That's very cool. What advice would you give to organizations that are like struggling to modernize their data system? I mean, you're obviously there, but what advice would you have?
We'll give Kurt a shot at that and then I'll finish it.
I think for me, as the world is changing very fast, all these new tools that Tim's talking about, you've got to start making those changes. So if you're not on that journey, it's critical that you come up with a plan to begin that journey. When we started our endeavor, Tim's comment that we'd push out to all of our team members was, "You think of Kennedy when he said we're going to the moon." We
Yeah,
got a lot of, "How are you going to do that?" And our
yeah,
answer was, "We don't know, but we're going to do it."
it's gonna
And
happen.
that was kind of our motto: is we don't know how we're going to do it, but we know what we're going to do. And I think that focus allowed us to think differently. So it's critical to your company to stay current. If you're not, you're spending too much time and energy trying to keep up, and you're just slipping further behind.
So knowing where you're gonna go and then just doing whatever it takes to get there, it sounds like
Yeah.
was what kind of what you did. Very cool.
Yep.
Someone once asked me, Ryan, how did you put in Guidewire so fast? How do you go fast? And I said, by stop being slow.
It's like,
And they laughed just like you
yeah,
did. But I'm being serious. If
sure.
if you have a race car and you want to make it go fast, you start eliminating all of the things that make it go slow, and you will
Yeah,
find it going fast. It's the same thing with core systems. You have to have fanatical discipline to a process. You have to have a focus on the why are you doing it?
yeah,
And then we can start pulling the pieces together. So core modernization starts to inspire and empower the ability to do other things with other vendors like artificial intelligence. It allows us to build better insight so that we can build not just a system of record, but a system of insight so that we can start to make better decisions. That little overnight fee that I was talking to Trevor about was there for years. But because we had a data system that started to tie the
yeah.
activity of a claim or the activity of policy delivery back to real expenses, we could say, well, what's causing that? And then we could come up with a technology solution to eliminate it. So we if we think about delivering a delightful experience to our customer, we can easily say, well, how are you going to do that?
All right.
Or what delights the customer?
Yeah,
Instead of that, I say flip it. And that's well, what creates a disliked experience? Let's remove that. People don't like this when we do this. Okay, let's get rid of that.
yeah.
People don't like it when we do this. Okay, let's get rid of that. People don't like it when we do this. Let's get rid of that. And pretty soon, if you get rid of the things that people don't like, you end up with a pretty delightful experience.
It'll be delightful and positive for them to like actually engage with you at that point. Um, Thanks, you guys. You guys have been great. One final question I have for you guys is, if you could wave kind of that magic wand and fix one data problem overnight, like what would that be?
One data problem that we have, huh?
Yeah,
I think that there's an inefficiency in insurance that everyone is trying to come up with, which is how can I most appropriately price a risk to cover the insurance company's exposure, but provide it in a way that matches what the insured needs. And I'm probably not
yeah,
doing a very good job of explaining this, but if I could appropriately price every risk so that the customer gets a tremendous value and the
Yeah.
insurance company can make just a little bit of money year over year, that data problem would be the thing I would try to solve because it brings together our core mission with the need of the customer.
It's like the synergy. That's where that's at.
If I could cut everybody's insurance by 50% and still make money, that would be what I would want to do. Right.
Very
But I have
cool.
to appropriately figure out how to price the risk so that we
Yeah.
make just a little bit of money and can cover all of the claims that we have to pay in a year. Figuring out that problem would be the one thing I would spend my wish on.
That would be a big one. That would change the whole industry, is what it would do. Very cool. Well, again, thanks, Tim. Thanks, Kurt, for joining. I appreciate it. This has been a wonderful interview, wonderful chat with you guys. Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Okay. Thanks, Trevor.
Thanks,
Thanks, Ryan.
everyone.
Thanks,
Good to see
Kurt.
you,
Thanks,
Kurt.
Tim.
Thanks, y'all.